There's a war happening right now, not in some distant country, not on the news. It's happening inside your head, and you're losing. Every single day, your mind throws thoughts at you that you didn't ask for. Thoughts that tell you you're not good enough, that you've already failed, that the worst is coming. And the strangest part? You believe them. You let them set up camp in your skull and run the show. The ancient Stoics knew this war intimately. They fought it every day, and they won. Not by pretending everything was fine, not by toxic positivity or motivational nonsense, but by understanding something most people never realize. The battlefield is yours. You just forgot how to defend it. Let's talk about how they did it. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, once wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing that for us. He was writing it for himself. Because even emperors wake up at 3 a.m. with their minds racing. Even the most powerful people on earth feel the weight of their own thoughts crushing them. The Stoics called the mind an inner citadel, a fortress. But here's the thing about fortresses. They're only useful if you man the walls. If you let every stray thought march through the gates unchallenged, you've already lost. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest philosophers in history, taught his students something radical. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But he went deeper than that. He taught that every thought, every impression that enters your mind is just that, an impression. It's not truth. It's not reality. It's a visitor, and you get to decide whether it stays or leaves. He called this the discipline of assent. It's the idea that between the thought appearing and you believing it, there's a gap, a moment, a choice. Most people never see that gap. They just accept every dark thought as gospel. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, and a stranger shouts something cruel at you. You don't have to let that live in your head for the next 3 days. You don't have to replay it. You don't have to build a story around it. You can acknowledge it happened and let it pass. That's the war. That's the fight. Not against the thought itself, but against the belief that you have to accept it. Let's get real for a second. We all know what it's like when the thoughts get dark, when your mind starts spiraling, when one worry leads to another, and suddenly you're catastrophizing about things that haven't even happened yet. Modern psychology has a term for this: rumination. Studies show that people who ruminate, who obsessively replay negative thoughts, are significantly more likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. In fact, research from Yale University found that rumination is one of the strongest predictors of mental health struggles. The Stoics didn't have the term rumination, but they knew the feeling. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most influential men in Rome, wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Most of the pain you feel isn't from what's actually happening. It's from what you think might happen, or what you think people think, or what you think you should have done differently 5 years ago. Seneca knew this because he lived it. At the height of his career, he was exiled, stripped of his power, his wealth, his status, sent to a barren island in the middle of nowhere. And in that exile, he could have let his mind destroy him. He could have spent every day replaying his mistakes, imagining his enemies celebrating, drowning in bitterness. But he didn't. He wrote, he reflected, he trained his mind. He said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He turned his exile into a forge, and when he returned to Rome years later, he wasn't broken, he was sharper. So how did they do it? How did the Stoics actually win this war? First, they practiced what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Sounds grim, doesn't it? But it's not about being pessimistic. It's about removing the shock factor. Marcus Aurelius would wake up and remind himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Not because he was cynical, but because he was prepared. When those things happened, they didn't derail him. He'd already seen them coming. Modern psychology calls this mental rehearsal. Athletes do it, surgeons do it, Navy SEALs do it. You visualize the worst-case scenario, and suddenly it loses its power over you. Second, they use negative visualization. Seneca would imagine losing everything he had, his wealth, his health, his loved ones, not to torture himself, but to appreciate what he had while he had it, and to remind himself that if he lost it all, he'd survive. Because here's the truth, you're stronger than you think. You've already survived every bad day you've ever had. You're still here. Third, they wrote, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't meant to be published. It was his private journal, a place where he could wrestle with his thoughts, challenge them, and put them in perspective. Writing forces clarity. It takes the chaos in your head and makes it visible. And once it's visible, you can deal with it. If you're finding this helpful, do me a favor, hit subscribe and drop a comment below. Tell me what your inner war looks like. What thought keeps showing up uninvited? Let's talk about it. Now, let's go deeper, because the darkest thoughts aren't just about worry or stress. Sometimes they're about shame, about guilt, about the feeling that you're fundamentally broken. Epictetus was born a slave. He was beaten. His leg was broken by his master and never healed properly. He limped for the rest of his life. If anyone had a reason to believe they were worthless, it was him. But he didn't. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." He realized that his mind was the one thing no one could take from him. His body could be chained, his freedom could be stolen. But his thoughts, those were his. And that's the ultimate Stoic truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. You are the citadel, not the invaders. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies on mindfulness and cognitive behavioral therapy show that when people learn to observe their thoughts without judgment, their mental health improves dramatically. You create distance. You stop identifying with every dark thought that pops up. The Stoics were doing CBT 2,000 years before it had a name. So how do you apply this today? Right now, start small. Next time a dark thought shows up, I'm not good enough. I'm going to fail. Everyone thinks I'm a fraud. Don't fight it. Don't try to suppress it. Just notice it. Say to yourself, that's a thought. It's not truth. It's just a visitor. Then ask yourself, is this thought useful? Does it help me? Does it make me better? If the answer is no, let it go. You don't need to carry it. Remember what Marcus said. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the quantity. The quality. You can't control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones you feed, which ones you let stay. Here's the thing the Stoics understood that most people miss. The war inside your mind never fully ends. There's no final victory where you never have another dark thought again. That's not how it works. But you can get better at fighting. You can learn to recognize the enemy. You can fortify your walls. You can choose your battles. And over time, the war becomes quieter. Not because the thoughts stop coming, but because you stop letting them win. Seneca put it perfectly. The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. You don't have to live there. You don't have to let your mind become a prison. You have the key. You've always had it. The war inside your mind, it's yours to win.